What's up everyone? Before I get into it, we are using PerfDog to measure performance on the devices we're testing out, so thank you PerfDog. We have the Samsung Galaxy S25 Edge with us, and it is Samsung's latest ultra-slim phone that doesn't compromise on power. It looks sleek in its titanium IC blue and is super light in hand. Let's put it through our gaming gauntlet of Genshin Impact, Zenless Zone Zero, Wuthering Waves with the Gamesir GA+, and PUBG Mobile at their highest possible settings. Performance-wise, the Samsung Galaxy S25 Edge that we have is running the Snapdragon 8 Elite for its CPU and Adreno 830 for its GPU, 12 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of storage, and everything plays out on a 6.7-inch LTPO AMOLED HDR10 Plus 120Hz display, and lastly, it has a 3900 mAh battery. So before we start gaming, let's check temperatures really quick. Starting from the back over here, 29.8, 29.7, nothing too funky. Alright. Moving on the camera groupings right now, 29.6 is on the glass, 29.4. Everything is alright. And now for the front, starting from the top, 29.6, 28, 28, 29.2. Right, nothing too funky as well. Looks like everything's at about 29, so I think that's alright. Okay, cool. And with that, let's get into our first game, Genshin Impact. Before I start things, we are playing everything on game performance mode through the game booster. So optimization for games is on performance and we're at 120 Hz. So let's get into Genshin. Alright, so we're in Genshin Impact right now. Before we start anything, let's check our settings real quick. Alright, so for graphics, the default is high, but of course we put everything to the highest. So highest render resolution, high shadow quality, high visual effects, high SFX quality, highest environment details, 60 FPS, that's the highest we can go with this. 60 FPS, that's the highest we can go with this phone. Low motion blur, because I don't really care for it that much. Bloom is turned on, anti-aliasing TAA, high card density, and yeah, that's really about it. Alright, so we are back in the game and this is a beautiful display. Look at that. Let's see how performance is like so far. Not a dent in that line over there. It drops to 59 every now and then, but that's whatever. Let's swap between characters. And as we're swapping, it's not really dropping. So that's pretty good. Alright, so with that, I'm pretty confident this phone will do pretty well so far. Let's run through the city. Everything is rendering in right now. Look at that. Let's keep moving through. The line is still going very strong and very straight. Looks good. And as you run through slash of it, it's not really making a huge dent. But yep, let's keep running through. Slam, and yeah, that really doesn't do anything. Nice. This is very, very smooth. So now that we're past the city, let's just get out there and do some commissions. Now we are just outside Mondstadt and this world looks really, really good on the screen. And so far, just running through the forest over here, not a dent in that FPS. Still pretty straight. The only thing that goes down is when, you know, we're traveling or, you know, just changing up stuff with fast traveling. The only time you see a dent in that is when we're fast traveling, which is expected, of course. And as we're running through this forest over here, everything still looks pretty good. Speakers are pretty good too, very clear, very crisp. No issues whatsoever. Bam, bam, bam. Oh, what was that? Once again, ulti. Very, very smooth. No issues whatsoever. Nice, I dodged that one. There should be reinforcements, I believe. There we go. Oh. Right, ulti once again. And then ulti. And another ulti. We should be good to go. Yeah, that's it. So far combat wise, no issues whatsoever as we're running through the forest over here and attacking hilly chills and whatnot. That line has been very, very steady no matter what we've done so far. Let's just run up again and see if we can get into another fight. Alright, so as you see, combat is very, very smooth. And honestly, I can't wait to test out how light this phone is, because in games like PUBG where a match can go on for like what 45 minutes, like 40 minutes, 45 minutes, the weight will come in handy. So let's just see how this performs. So far we are 8 minutes into the game and the back is getting a little bit warm. Nothing too concerning though, but it is getting warm, that's for sure. And let's set this up. Look at that, that is very, very smooth for all these. No issues, no frame rate drops, nothing. This is turning out to be a very solid phone. However, because it's so thin, I'm wondering how the temperatures will be like after this gaming session, so we'll see how that goes. Because obviously, you know, if it's a thinner phone, thermal management will definitely have to take a hit somewhere. I mean, in some way or form, thermal management will take a hit because of how thin it is. So we'll see how this performs at the end of it. Currently, we're about 10 minutes in to using the phone to play Genshin Impact. So let's see how this goes. Here. Nice. Ayaka. Nice, and that is done. We are 11 minutes into this playthrough. Let's check temperatures real quick. So starting from the top of the phone where the front camera is facing. Okay, so starting from the top of the phone. So starting from the top of the phone where the front camera is at 39.9. Oh yeah, 41.2. That's kind of expected. I mean, that is the caveat to having an ultra thin phone, is that the heat is going to hit the surface a lot faster, but how quickly this dissipates later on is what really counts for me, at least. I think out of all these Snapdragon 8 Elite phones we've tried out so far, I think this one runs the hottest so far. And me saying the hottest honestly doesn't really chalk up too much, because even then also this phone is doing a-okay for Genshin. At 41, that's okay. The back, however, almost the same story. Okay, kind of the same story in certain areas. So here 40.5, 37.9. All right. That's all right actually. We'll just see how this handles heat in a bit. And yeah, that should be Alright, so that should be it. Let's move to our next game, Zenless Zone Zero. Right, so let's check temperatures before we hit into Zenless Zone Zero. It's been about 5 minutes. So look at that, 31.4, 32.1. This thing does very well with dissipating heat. Look at that, it was 41.1 something around here somewhere just now. It was 35 here, I believe, or 34. It going down about 3 or 4 degrees in a relatively short period of time is still pretty good. So look at that, that's very decent. Let's check the front. Right, starting from the top over here where the front facing camera is at 31.9. It was 41 just now. That's pretty good. It's about 8 degrees. It's an 8 degree-ish difference, 7-ish degree difference in a span of about 5 minutes-ish. Look at that. So with that, let's get into our next game, Zenless Zone Zero. Alright, so we are in Zenless Zone Zero right now. Let's check our settings before we do anything. Alright, so for graphics, we're set on custom. It was on high earlier on, because right now everything has been set to the highest. So high rendering, TAA, high shadows, ultra FX quality right here, 60 FPS. That's the highest we can go. High on the character quality, environment quality is on high. Volumetric fog enabled and bloom has been enabled as well. So we are good to go. Alright, so we're ready and let's move on through the city over here. Hitting this intersection right here would be difficult for most phones. We will be seeing a huge drop, but so far, no, not this one at all. 60 FPS, it has been like that constantly throughout the entire run over here. All the way to the train station, that has been a very consistent 60 FPS. Let's walk it back all the way through. So far, so good. And again, I gotta say, this display is really, really good on this thing, and so are the speakers. Alright, we are running through the intersection once again, and not a dip in that line. That is beautiful to see. Alright, so with that, let's farm for some resources real quick. Alright, 60 FPS. Let's see how much this dips. So far, still very good, hopefully. Ooh, nice. Nice. I think so far so good. Usually by now most phones would have dropped to at least half of the original FPS. So far, I mean, we're seeing a couple dips here and there, but outside of that, I think we're doing pretty okay. Ulti real quick. Let's drop by 60 FPS for like a moment. Other than that, it's alright. It's still very, very smooth gameplay. Alright, get the stagger up with icon. So between the FPS and coming back into the actual world, it's about 6 FPS difference. Nice. Oh, that's my bad. Alright, let's get her out again. Shark Poo, let's go. Still very, very smooth gameplay. No issues. Nothing. Look at that. We're doing A-okay. One more time. It's so smooth that I can catch all of the perfect dodges and perfect assists. And if I didn't, that's just a skill issue, but so far that is great performance. I think with that, let's get into another round. Okay, so we're going to do a notorious hunt. Let's see how this goes. I'm catching everything right now. That's really good. Again, skill issue if you can't. Like I just missed that. Alright, let's get that. Healing, let's go. Alright, ulti real quick. So far, not a huge dip in that line. At the most, between the ulti, at least from what I've seen, still about like what 60 FPS-ish. No, 60. Sorry, 6 FPS. My bad. Ulti healing. Yeah, that's still a very, very steady line. Very nice. Come on. But I'm stunned. Nice. Really, let's go. Nice, okay. That is great. So far, we're about 8 minutes into the game, and that line is still super thick and very straight. So that's cool to see. All right, so let's check temperatures real quick because I do feel the back getting a bit warm. So starting from the top, where the front facing camera is at 36.48.8. Yep. Expect 42.2, expect 43.3, yep. Out of the two HoYoverse games that we do play with, Zenless is still the most demanding of the two. So that's why, it's kind of not surprising to see it reaching above 41 degrees Celsius or like just 43 degrees Celsius over here. Let's check the back real quick. Right here. 38, yep. And we shift to the side right here. 41.1, 42.8, 43. Are we going to get 44 somewhere? No, we're not. So both sides kind of tell the same story, about 41 degrees to about 43 degrees on both ends. This is expected of Zenless, so it's nothing new. However, I do believe that the phone is able to dissipate heat pretty quickly, so that's done. Before we get into our next game, here is a message from our friends at Secretlab. At Geek Culture, Secretlab is our everyday ergonomic buddy. Whether we're making videos, writing up a storm, or gaming for hours on end, we are comfortably seated and feel right at home without the aches and pains. Secretlab provides ergonomic support from head to toe, with a dynamic lumbar support system that adapts to your movements along with a proprietary medium foam cushioning that optimizes pressure distribution. They even have accessories like the ergonomic recliner add-on to keep your legs elevated and well rested at any angle you like. For more information, check out secretlab.co. Alright, so we just got done with Zenless Zone Zero. We are going to be playing Wuthering Waves. Before that, let's check temperatures real quick. It's been about a good 2 to 4 minutes so far. We've reached 30 degrees or 31 degrees in about 4 to 5 minutes. That's pretty quick. Look at that. 31.4. This was like 44, 43 just now. 43 to 42 degrees Celsius in this area right just now, and we're back to 31, so that's huge. Check out the front over here from the top where the front facing camera is at. Same story. Look at that. Those are great numbers to work with. This thing loses heat in such a short period of time. This phone loses heat in such a short amount of time. Look at that. So we will be playing Wuthering Waves with our Gamesir G8 Plus, and I think with that camera module, it doesn't stick out too much, but it won't be like super even. Oh, so it does fit quite nicely actually. Okay, so with that, let's get into our next game, Wuthering Waves. Alright, so we are in Wuthering Waves right now, or WUWA. Let's check our settings real quick. Right, so it's set a custom because everything is at the highest, ultra high resolution, frame rate is 60, high special effects quality, FSR is turned on high, shadow quality is ultra high, LOD bias high, capsule EO is on, anti-aliasing is turned on as well, bloom is turned on, crowd density is high, damage numbers turned on, physics-based animation is turned on as well, and let's see, we also have frame generation for WUWA, so we're going to be turning that on as well. So let's see how this goes. Alright, so a little bit of an issue just now. I fixed it already, and now we have our FPS counter back, and that frame generation is pushing everything to about 77 FPS, 78 FPS, and this looks very, very smooth IRL. Let's just run around the city real quick and hop, skip, please hop. Alright, no big dips whatsoever. 94, 90 FPS. That frame generation is helping out quite a bit, to be honest. 90 FPS, look at that. That is crazy. So far so good, very, very smooth gameplay so far. We're even at 100 FPS, 104 FPS around here. That's nice to see. I mean, this game is very smooth. With the frame generation turned on, just look at the reflections on the floor. That is crazy. Oh my lord. This is great, and again, the frame generation is doing quite a bit in keeping this game and making this game very smooth. Look at those reflections, that is insane. I mean, I know WUWA is WUWA, but still, that's crazy. So with that, let's just get into some combat real quick. Alright, combat, let's go. Very smooth so far, 107 FPS here and there. Very nice. Nice. Ulti. The graph is kind of going all over the place in between these scenes, of course. That's expected, but look at that. 92 FPS, 100 FPS, and honestly, like, this thing is performing really well. 90.1 FPS, that is great. Alright, even transforming to the other things, still looking pretty good. Ulti right now, I mean. Completely missed that, but it's okay. We're back to like 80-ish FPS, but even then, you know, that's still good as hell. Nice, that is done. So I think the boss battle went very well. Exploration wise and everything, we're doing A-okay. Let's play with a tacit field to see how this phone handles multiple enemies. Come on. A bit more. Bam, bam, bam. Oh, I got this. Bam, bamboozle. I was not paying attention for like 5 seconds. But this should be one and done. Alright, and that is cool. Alright, so with that, I guess you can see the exploration and combat have no issues whatsoever when it comes to WUWA on the S25 Edge. However, I will say I'm kind of figuring out why it dropped down to 40-ish, 30-ish FPS about halfway through the playthrough. But so far, this is quite the device to have when you're gaming. So yeah, let's check temperatures. It's about 10 minutes now. 42.6, 43, 45, yep. WUWA things, man. These numbers are expected. Look at that, 41.8, 41.3, 45, 44.6 somewhere around here. 40.6, 42.2, 45.3 even. That's to be expected with WUWA as well. Let's check temperatures at the back of the phone. Starting from the camera module area over here. 36.4, 35.8, that's alright. Moving on to this side, 39.5, 44, 41.6, 47, 47 degrees Celsius. I've not seen that number in quite a while. Look at that, that is crazy. Given again we are playing this with the gamepad, so that definitely adds up into the heat. But look at that, we kind of expected ish, but just 47 is a number that, but 47 is a number that I wouldn't have thought of seeing today. All right, so with this, let's get to our final game, PUBG Mobile. All right, so we're down to our last game, PUBG Mobile. Let's check temperatures. There has been a 5-minute break between the games. Let's check this from the top over here, 31. Yep, look at that. That's great heat management right there. While keeping a single beat. Look at that, 30, 30.9, 31.4. Great numbers. Let's check the back over here. Starting from the camera modules. About 30.9, right thereabouts. Shifting to the side. 32.3, 30, 30.1.5, 39.7. That's great. Look at that. Those are great numbers. We're safe. Oh my lord. Right, that's pretty sick to see. Alright, so settings wise, graphics, smooth graphics and ultra extreme frame rate, and that's about it. Yep, that's really it. Alright, let's get into a match. Alright, looking at PerfDog right now, we're about 118, it's supposed to be 120 FPS. So let's see how this performs throughout the entire match. My team is not dropping off with me, so that means something else. Oh well, solo it is then. But yep, very steady frame rate. It's not really hitting like 120 FPS completely, but it drops to 119, which isn't a huge problem to be honest. Still a almost very straight line. Sit down. Oh, okay, my team is with me. Alright. Sorry guys. Yep, we are hitting you. Oh, there you go. Come on, there we go. Some dudes around us. Nice, and you're down. Someone behind us. Oh, that was lucky. I'm not gonna lie. Nice. We are almost died, but I think we're doing okay now. Our 2 dudes on that side. Down, down, nice. All right, utilities, that's great. Oh, good. Let's see if we can find this guy at. If he's still around. Still be hanging out around here somewhere. There you go. Anyway, we're doing pretty good so far. I believe we are about 12 minutes into the match, or into the game, and so far not a dent in that line. I think, oh my god, yeah. Pretty confident to say that this game runs extremely well. Let's just see how hot this thing runs at the end of the match. There's one down. Holy shit. There are quite a few of them. Oh my god, that was so, what the hell? That was sick. Got a double kill right there. Oh my lord. Oof. I thought they had me. Holy shit. That was sick. This is why I always trust the Vector. Holy crap. That was nice. Where's all that fire coming from? Oh, it's you. You're pushing up. One down, one down, one down, one down, one down, one down. Screwed, baby. Two down. One more. One more dude like right there. And we are done. Nice. All right, starting from the top over here where the front-facing camera is at 40.139, 40, 40.2, 40.9, 41. Alright, even though this is the least graphically intensive games, we are actually playing it on pretty demanding settings, I believe. You know, we're pushing to 120 FPS. It's the only game that goes out to 120. It's the only game on our build that goes out to 120 FPS. So yeah, 41 kinda makes it. No, it's the only game that runs. It's the only game that runs up to 120 FPS. Plus, we've been playing for half an hour. So yeah, this temperature, this makes sense. All right, look at that. Even then, that's still great. It's still comfortable in hand. Let's check the back over here, starting with the camera modules. 37, 36.5, 37.1, 36.8, 40.4, 40.5, 41.1, 38.6. Alright, those are great numbers. And you know, because you're holding it with your hands and your hands at the back, of course, you know, these are very comfortable numbers to have your hands in, especially if you're playing for half an hour. And if you put this, you know, with the controller, like the Gamesir G Plus over here, you know, you're gonna have a great time with it. With that, let's get into our final thoughts. Playing with this phone in the time we've had it, it's easy to say that with its ultra thin profile, great performance, and how lightweight it is, the Samsung Galaxy S25 Edge is not to be messed with. It's a great size to get your hands comfortably in, and with how well it handles thermal management, you can put them in a controller like the Gamesir G8 Plus and afford to not worry about the phone overheating. Visuals and audio are great and come out nice and crisp, and I haven't had any issues with any of the games. The three most demanding games in the gauntlet were handled beautifully without any huge frame rate drops in and out of combat. PUBG with its match length of half an hour played marvelously too, even though the phone got a bit warm towards the end, but that's whatever. All in all, if you're thinking of upgrading, the Samsung Galaxy S25 Edge should be damn near the top of the list. Let me know in the comment section if you're thinking of getting it, and if you do have any questions, we'll do our best to get to them. If you like what we do, make sure to follow us on all of our socials right here, and maybe leave a like and hit the subscribe button. It goes a long way. If you want to see more stuff, check this out.